You think you know yourself, but you don't. Not really. You walk through life convinced you're making choices, believing your opinions are your own, thinking you're in control. But what if you're not? What if your thoughts, your morals, your dreams aren't yours at all? What if they were handed to you, packaged, pre-approved, and you just accepted them because it was easier than thinking? Nietzsche once said, "Sometimes people don't want to hear the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed." This video isn't made for comfort. It's not here to inspire. It's here to break you, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. Because somewhere deep inside you, you've already felt it. That quiet, gnawing sense that something isn't right, that the life you're living isn't fully yours. And yet, you keep playing along, smiling when you're dying inside, agreeing when you disagree, hiding your instincts, killing your fire. Why? Because truth is painful, because lies are warm, because facing who you really are means destroying who you've pretended to be. Nietzsche didn't write for the masses. He didn't care about the average man. He wrote for the few, for those willing to stare directly into the abyss and not blink. He called out the herd. He exposed the masks. He tore down the polite illusions we build around human nature. And what he revealed was not pretty, but it was real. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So consider this your first and final warning. The next few minutes won't be easy. They're not meant to be. If you're looking for hope, you won't find it here. If you're looking for truth, you might, but only if you're willing to bleed for it. Let's begin. This isn't the kind of video that makes you feel better. It's not here to motivate you or comfort you or whisper soft lies in your ear. This is a place for endings, not the kind you see in stories, but the kind that happen in silence, inside your mind. The kind where something dies, quietly, violently, a belief, an illusion, a version of yourself you've been clinging to out of fear. What you're about to hear isn't safe. It's not filtered. It's not designed to protect your feelings. Because the truth doesn't care about your feelings, and Nietzsche certainly didn't. He believed most people live behind masks, not to deceive others, but to protect themselves from who they really are. That mask you wear, the nice guy, the hard worker, the good person, he'd rip it off without hesitation, because beneath it lies what you're too afraid to confront. This is your warning. Once you step into this, you don't come out the same, because truth cuts, and Nietzsche used a blade made of words. You'll hear things that sound cruel, unfair, even wrong. But that's only because you've been trained to see comfort as kindness, and pain as something to run from. Not here, not in this room. This is a philosophical execution chamber. There are no guards, no witnesses, no applause, just you and the part of you that's about to die, if you let it. So if you're looking for easy answers, exit now. If you're hoping to be told everything's going to be okay, it's not. This is for those ready to watch their illusions burn. And maybe, if they survive the fire, they'll finally see what was real underneath. Forget the man. Forget the mustache, the books, the history lectures. You're not here to meet Friedrich Nietzsche. You're here to enter his mind. And that's a different thing entirely. Nietzsche's mind was not a place of peace. It was a battlefield, a cold, endless storm of ideas clashing like swords in the dark. He wasn't trying to be wise. He was trying to survive what he saw inside the world and inside himself. He looked at human nature with no filter, no faith, no fairy tales. He stripped it all away: religion, morality, tradition, hope, and asked, What's left when you take away the lies? He didn't write to inspire. He wrote to expose. And what he exposed was ugly, terrifying, and real. He saw people addicted to obedience, worshiping weakness, praising mediocrity, and calling it virtue. He believed the average man would do anything to avoid truth, even destroy himself. Because truth hurts, and most people aren't built to handle pain. Nietzsche was. Or maybe he wasn't. Maybe that's why he broke. But before the madness, before the silence, he left behind pages soaked in fire. Ideas that slice open the human soul. Words that most can't read without flinching. And questions that echo in the back of your mind when everything else goes quiet. He didn't want followers. He wanted fighters. People willing to think, to suffer, to stand alone. Because in his world, there were only two types of people: those who lie to themselves, and those who are willing to bleed for what's real. You're here now, inside his mind. The storm is beginning, and you've got nowhere left to hide. Nietzsche didn't see the world like most people do. He didn't look through the lens of morality. He didn't care what society called good or evil. To him, those were just names, convenient labels created by the weak to control the strong. He believed the real world doesn't care about your values. Nature doesn't reward kindness. Life doesn't hand out justice. The lion doesn't apologize to the antelope. The storm doesn't care who it kills. And yet, we walk around clinging to rules, pretending they're real, calling them sacred, acting like they protect us from something. But to Nietzsche, those rules were just comfort blankets. Things people invented to soften the harshness of existence, to make life feel fair, predictable, safe. He rejected all of it, not out of cruelty, but because he wanted something real. He stripped reality down to the bone. No gods, no destiny, no objective meaning. Just us, alone, thrown into a world that owes us nothing, trying to build a life with no blueprint. He called this the death of God, not the end of religion, but the collapse of the old illusions, the moment humanity realizes no one is coming to save us. It wasn't a celebration, it was a warning. Because when you take away morality, you also take away certainty. When you take away identity, you face the question, who am I really? And when you remove comfort, you're left with nothing but your raw, unfinished self. Most people can't live like that. They cling to their roles. Father, worker, believer, citizen, they hide inside them. But Nietzsche ripped those roles apart. He saw them as masks. And behind the mask, there was either something powerful or there was nothing at all. He wasn't offering peace. He was offering freedom, not the kind that feels good, but the kind that burns. Because once you see life for what it is, no script, no purpose, no safety net, you realize you have two choices. You can collapse, or you can create. That's where Nietzsche's true message lives. Not in destruction, but in what comes after. He called it the Übermensch, the person who builds meaning from scratch, who creates values instead of obeying them, who faces the void and still chooses to rise. But before you get there, before you build anything, you have to watch everything fall. That's what Nietzsche's lens does. It doesn't give you answers. It tears away the lies that kept you comfortable. And it asks, now that you know the truth, what will you do with it? Truth number 1. People don't want freedom. They want comfort. Here's the first truth, and it's one you'll want to reject the second you hear it. People don't really want freedom. They say they do. They fight for it, sing about it, vote for it. But when it actually shows up, when real freedom knocks, they shut the door. Because real freedom terrifies people. It doesn't come with instructions. It doesn't come with approval. And it doesn't care if you're ready. Real freedom means standing on your own. No gods to guide you. No leaders to obey. No system to blame, just you and the weight of your choices. And most people? They can't carry that. They want permission, not freedom. They want to be told who they are, what's good, what's bad, what they're allowed to want. Because that's easier than thinking, easier than deciding, easier than being responsible for what happens next. Nietzsche saw this clearly. He saw how people wrap themselves in belief systems, in politics, in religion, not because they're seeking truth, but because they're seeking protection. They want walls, not open space. They want rules, not chaos. They want to be told, this is right, that is wrong, do this, don't do that, so they don't have to decide for themselves, so they don't have to suffer if they choose wrong. But here's the twist Nietzsche understood. Comfort is a cage. It feels warm, it feels safe, but it's still a cage. And the longer you stay inside it, the more you forget you're even trapped. Ask yourself, when was the last time you did something truly free? Something that wasn't approved by others? Something that scared you? Not because it was dangerous, but because it was yours? People will say freedom is their highest value, but they live lives built entirely around avoiding discomfort. They follow the script, they play the part, and then they wonder why they feel so empty inside. Here's the truth Nietzsche didn't sugarcoat. Most people don't want to be free. They want to feel safe. They want to be liked. They want to avoid pain. They don't want to be themselves. They want to be what the world rewards. And freedom? Real freedom? It makes you invisible to that world. It makes you a threat. It makes you alone. So they choose comfort. They choose silence. They choose the mask. Because deep down, they're afraid of what they might find if they ever looked in the mirror with the lights all the way on. This is the first cut. Let it bleed. Truth number 2. Most morality is just fear in disguise. You like to think you're a good person. Kind, patient, moral. You try not to lie. You help others. You avoid conflict when you can. But ask yourself, why? Why do you do these things? Because you truly believe in them? Or because you're afraid of what would happen if you didn't? Nietzsche didn't buy into surface-level goodness. He looked deeper, much deeper. And what he found wasn't pretty. He believed that most morality, the kind we praise in society, isn't based on strength. It's based on weakness. It's based on fear. Not courage, not conviction, just raw, quiet fear. The fear of being judged, the fear of being punished, the fear of being alone. You're polite because you don't want to be disliked. You're generous because you fear being seen as selfish. You forgive not out of peace, but because you don't want to confront what you actually feel. It's not virtue. It's self-protection. Nietzsche saw this and gave it a name: slave morality. It's the morality of the powerless, the people who can't change their situation, so they turn their suffering into a moral code. They say, power is evil. Pride is sinful. Suffering is noble. But deep down, they resent the strong. They envy the free. And rather than rise above, they call the mountain unfair. They pretend humility is holiness, but it's really just defeat dressed up in virtue. Look around. How many people hide behind kindness because they don't have the strength to be honest? How many preach forgiveness just to avoid confrontation? How many choose peace because they're afraid of saying what they really think? This isn't about cruelty. It's not about turning into a monster. It's about facing the part of you that uses morality as a mask. Because it's easy to play the role of the good person when it protects you from hard choices. But Nietzsche asked, would you still be good if there were no reward? No praise, no acceptance, no safety. Would you still be kind if the world hated you for it? Or would your mask fall off and show what's really underneath? Most people never ask because they don't want to know. But if you're here, if you've made it this far, you owe yourself the question, are your values truly yours? Or are they just a shield you've been hiding behind your whole life? Truth number 3. Most people don't think, they just obey. Let's talk about your life. Not the one you show the world, the real one. The one underneath all the noise. You wake up, you go to work, you do what's expected, you follow the rules. You think you're making choices. But are you? Or are you just following instructions you never realized were there? From the moment you were born, you were given a script, not by accident, by design. Your parents told you what's right. Your school told you what to believe. Society told you what success looks like. And without even noticing, you memorized every word. You were told what kind of clothes to wear, what kind of career to chase, what kind of person to love. And like everyone else, you nodded, you smiled, you said, that makes sense. But here's what Nietzsche believed. Most people don't think. They inherit thoughts. They absorb beliefs. And they call that a life. He wasn't being dramatic. He was being honest. Because real thinking is dangerous. It leads you into uncertainty. It forces you to challenge everything you've ever known. And that kind of freedom? Most people run from it. Obedience is easier. It's cleaner. It gives you a place in the system, even if it kills your soul. It says, don't ask questions. Just do what everyone else is doing. Play it safe. Stay in line. So you follow the path. School, job, marriage, mortgage, retirement, death. And then maybe, right before the end, you whisper to yourself, was any of this mine? Nietzsche warned that society doesn't want individuals. It wants copies. It wants predictable, controllable, obedient people who confuse comfort for purpose. And he saw that most of us would rather be told what to do than face the terror of making our own way. Because choosing your own path? That means walking alone. That means failing without anyone to blame. That means carrying the weight of your freedom every single day. So we trade it in for approval, for safety, for the illusion of belonging. And we call it normal. But ask yourself this. Did you choose your beliefs? Or did you inherit them? Did you shape your life? Or did you copy someone else's? Are you living your truth? Or just playing the role you were assigned? If that question makes you uncomfortable, good. Because Nietzsche didn't come to inspire you. He came to unmask you. And what you do next? That's the first real decision you might have made in a long time. Truth number 4. Pain isn't the enemy. It's the way. You've been lied to. You were taught that pain is bad, that suffering is something to avoid, that happiness is the goal, and anything that hurts is a sign that something's wrong. But Nietzsche saw something different, something most people never even consider. He believed pain isn't a problem. It's a path, not something to run from, but something to go through, deliberately, consciously. Because on the other side of that pain is the truth of who you really are. We live in a culture obsessed with comfort, soft beds, fast food, quick answers, numbing apps, distractions on every screen. But comfort doesn't build strength. It breeds weakness. It dulls your edge. And Nietzsche knew a life without struggle is a life without transformation. He called it amor fati, the love of fate, the love of everything that happens to you. Especially the hard things. The heartbreak, the failure, the isolation, the breakdown, the loss. He believed those moments are sacred, not because they feel good, but because they strip away everything that isn't real. In pain, your masks fall off, your excuses melt, your ego cracks, and what's left is raw truth, not the version of you that smiles in the mirror, the one underneath that, the one forged in fire. Because suffering Real suffering isn't just a curse, it's a mirror. And if you're brave enough to look, you'll see the parts of yourself you never dared to face. But most people don't want that. They want ease. They want shortcuts. They want happiness handed to them without having to bleed for it. Nietzsche hated that mindset. He believed growth doesn't come in peace, it comes in conflict. And not with the world, with yourself. Do you want to be wise? Earn it in heartbreak. Do you want to be strong? Carry something heavy and don't put it down. Do you want to be free? Then face the pain you've spent your whole life avoiding. Because the more you run from suffering, the more it owns you. But when you face it, when you stare it down and say, "You're mine now," you become something else. You become dangerous, not to others, to your old self, to the weak version of you that needed comfort just to breathe. Pain is not the enemy. It is the sculptor. And every scar it leaves behind is proof that you didn't just survive. You evolved. Truth number 5. Most people are already dead. They just don't know it. Look around you. The streets are full. The buildings are loud. The screens are glowing. People talking, scrolling, laughing, working. But Nietzsche would ask you one brutal question. Are they actually alive or just moving? Because being alive isn't the same as existing. Breathing, eating, aging, that's biology. But life, real life, that's something else. And most people never touch it. They wake up, repeat the same habits, think the same thoughts, chase the same shallow pleasures, numb the same silent pain. They go through decades without ever asking, "What am I doing here? Why does this feel empty? Who am I really?" Nietzsche saw this clearly. He said most people are asleep, not in bed, in life. They follow inherited routines, inherited beliefs, inherited fears. Their decisions aren't theirs, they're borrowed. Their personalities aren't shaped, they're copied. Their dreams aren't felt, they're sold to them. They are alive in flesh, but hollow in spirit. And the scariest part? They never notice. Because society rewards sleepwalkers. It gives them promotions, applause, distractions, deadlines, just enough stimulation to keep them from ever waking up. But inside, there's a quiet ache, an invisible scream, a soft, constant whisper. This isn't it. But instead of listening, they drown it out. With noise, with comfort, with lies they tell themselves to survive the silence. Nietzsche didn't sugarcoat this. He said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But most people never find their why, because finding it requires a painful awakening. It demands you burn down everything false inside you. And that is terrifying. It's easier to keep sleepwalking, to stay in the fog, to pretend you're alive just because your heart still beats. But here's the truth. Living, really living, means facing yourself, all of you. The broken parts, the dark parts, the wild, unfiltered truth that no one else can define. It means carving a path that no one handed to you. It means waking up every single day and refusing to disappear. So ask yourself, not tomorrow, now, are you awake? Or are you just blinking through a dream someone else wrote for you? Because the grave doesn't wait, and time doesn't ask for permission. And one day, when your eyes finally close, will it be the end of a life? Or just the end of a sleep? Now there's nothing left to explain, no advice to give, no lesson to wrap this up. Just silence, just you, and the echo of what you've heard. The truths aren't easy. They're not supposed to be. They weren't designed to make you feel better. They were designed to wake you up. Maybe you feel disturbed, or hollow, or strangely calm. That's not by accident. It means something inside you heard the truth and couldn't look away. Nietzsche didn't want followers. He didn't want students. He wanted individuals, spirits so raw and alive that they could stand alone, unafraid of the void. And maybe, just maybe, you're starting to feel what that means. Not in your head, in your bones. This isn't the end of a video. This is a mirror, and now you're staring at it. Without filters, without excuses, just you. And what you do with that. No one's coming to answer that for you. Not me, not Nietzsche, not anyone. The silence is yours now. Let it stretch. Let it sting. Let it speak. And when you're ready to move again, make sure it's you who's moving. Not the mask. Not the program. You.